Hey guys, we are going to have another Facebook Live discussion about mental health. And I've had a couple of days here since our last talk, and I've gotten some new ideas to share. So I wanted to come on board and talk with you about those ideas. And really, when I have a new discussion topic, it's either because I've had an enlightening moment or I've crossed paths with someone who has sparked a thought in my mind, and I think it's relevant. And that's kind of what's happened this time, is that I had an inquiry about the connection between physical exercise and mental health. And someone had asked me for some resources and feedback. And I really started thinking about, we've had talks about multiple different ways that we can approach our mental health, especially during COVID-19. And I thought it would be helpful if we could look at the role of exercise, or at least movement, like not even necessarily deliberate exercise, but just moving our body and how that plays a role in also optimizing our mental health. So we're going to explore that a little bit more surface level tonight, a little bit more candid, and I'm going to do some research related to that. I have some base knowledge, but I actually wasn't aware. I had some books in the library that are relevant to those topics that I really hadn't explored that much. So I'm going to dive into those a little bit more. I'm going to give you some resources as well. But I also want to have more of a personalized discussion about the role of exercise and mental health, because I know a lot of you guys that follow along are very active, and that's a critical part of your overall well-being. And maybe you just see that as part of your physical fitness and your physical well-being, but in reality, it's also doing a lot for our mental health, and there are certainly emotional reasons that drive us to exercise or keep us from exercising and being active as well. So we're going to look at that. First and foremost up front, I want to be sure everybody is paying attention to their mental and emotional health right now, being aware of how you're feeling, and then if you're experiencing any anxiety or fear, depression, or really struggling to manage your mental health, please reach out for support. It's very simple. We've got the telehealth practice going now, and it's been running really smoothly, so we can get you right in there and connect with a telephone call or a video chat that's secure and get you the mental health support you need. And most likely your insurance will cover that, so it's great. You have the insurance to provide coverage, and you don't even have to leave your home to get the mental health support that you need right now. So please reach out to myself or another health professional to get you connected with those resources. I wanted to tell you guys about some new resources on my pages as well that we've got up. So I uploaded a new YouTube video on my YouTube page about different spiritual wellness practices. We had a discussion the other night about 8 different ways to optimize your spiritual wellness. So check out that video on my YouTube page, and you can listen to that in detail, feedback about ways that you can optimize spiritual health. Additionally, I posted on my Foresight Wellness Facebook page a list of 10 worship songs that have been paramount in my life, that have really helped me the most, and I even gave a little bit of extra feedback as far as like what they helped me through. So that's on there. And then today I added a list of my go-to podcasts, especially during this time, during COVID, podcasts that I pretty much check every day, or YouTube channels that I go to every day for new content related to health and wellness, especially during COVID-19. Or if in a different time, I might have a slightly different list of podcasts and go-to experts in those fields. So all of that available. Facebook at Foresight Wellness, on YouTube at Derek Forsyth. So follow along there almost daily, trying to keep up new information to inform you guys as best as possible during this time. But let's kind of work through our discussion. And I had someone reach out who is, I believe, in their graduate program and either completing some research paper or classwork. And this was relevant to exercise and its impact on mental health. And I think so many of us believe that when we go to work out, or we go for a run, or we lift, or we do some type of routine, or maybe even yoga, we think that it's primarily helping our physical bodies. And certainly that's true, but we often miss the mental and emotional health benefits of exercise because they might not be as obvious. And here's the thing, there's, I think, multiple components to it. There certainly is a physiological, chemical, hormonal response that the body goes through during the process of exercise, from the point of talking ourselves into working out, to then getting up and going to the gym, or putting on our running shoes, to then going through the routine of like actually completing the exercise. So going through the pain and then that completion, like there's a whole cycle of physiological responses that take place. But then in addition to just those surface feelings of accomplishment and the confidence that we get from working out. So I think there's so much to it. And not to mention, like, not just during the workouts, but, you know, even I can say for myself, like the progress that we see from that, like as we cut down on our running times or increase our strength, or we begin to notice changes, improvements in our physique, then that automatically is going to help our confidence level, and our self-esteem is going to go up as a product of the work we've put into that. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Let me just, a little aside here, is that we're going to look in the mirror and notice changes, or look at the scale, and we're excited and proud about those results. But we need to remember to be putting that emphasis on being proud of the work, okay? Being excited about the fact that we committed ourselves enough to doing the work that we got these results, because the results didn't just happen. You need to commend yourself, not for the new physique or the changes. You need to commend yourself for the process that got you there, and that commitment. That's where you're going to find that boost in self-esteem, because you proved to yourself that you can accomplish things that otherwise maybe you didn't believe in. So I went to my library and I started thinking, I knew I had a book in there that I had started reading and not finished. So I'm going to show you guys some of these. My thought here is that I'm going to dive a little bit more into these, because when I began reading, I was intrigued, and I've already been fascinated about the connection between exercise and our mental and emotional health. This book here, Healthy Healing, is a really good one that I need to finish reading. But it's by a lady who was widowed, lost her husband, and she took up running, hiking, and exercising, and even like doing HIIT workouts as a means of coping with her grief. And Michelle actually took a lot of criticism for trying to essentially like exercise out her feelings, and she explains why that's not really what was happening. And, you know, in reality, it shucks about, and I can relate to this. You know, running is a great way to process thoughts and emotions. It's a good time to really go through those in your mind as you're running, but you can also sort of get those emotions out in a different way than if you were just setting and processing. And you're able to force them out through different chemical and hormonal responses in the body. And so she used running and different forms of exercise as a way to process her losses, and then also to sort of push through the pain. Like she would almost connect her emotional pain of her loss of her husband to some of those physical pains. And she would say, like, if she can get past these physical pain thresholds, then that would take her to the next level of grieving or processing through her grief. So that's one. This is another book that she had actually recommended, and I happen to have. This is the problem, is I had this big library of books that it's impossible for me to completely get through. But this one is Spark, the Revolutionary New Science of Exercise and the Brain. So I'm going to dig more into this one. And my hope is I want to come back and really talk to you about those chemical and hormonal responses that are taking place in our bodies and our brains as we exercise, and as a response to the exercise, like when we complete and push through pain. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but not in great detail. I want to come back and have that discussion when I'm better equipped to break down the details of it. So, you know, those two books especially. So this one, Healthy Healing, Amazon, $9-10. Great reviews, really easy read, personalized story. I think those are important, is when someone's telling a firsthand story like this, it's a little bit more, you can resonate it with a little bit more. There's a lot of personal stories in here as well, of people sharing their stories of using exercise to overcome grief, okay? So Healthy Healing, and then Spark, and then there's two more that I'm going to use that are just kind of more fun books that are about the brain, but it talks about ways to boost our brain health. So this one's 50 mind exercises, but there's some discussion in there about exercise and the correlations and the different brain responses as well. And then this one that I bought more as a coffee table piece, but it's actually really fascinating. You open up, it's like 30-second tidbits about learning about the brain. And it's also got a section about exercise. So the literature is out there and it's available. But honestly, also, I think what's important is I want to hear your guys' stories, our firsthand accounts of how exercise is impacting our own lives and are helping us to process through trauma and emotion is just as important, right? Like I think we can take those more seriously because each of us have been there. I think about for myself, for 8 or 9 years, I was a distance runner and I would go out almost every night, oftentimes pretty late, and go for a run at the end of a long day. And for me, it was a way of processing all of the thoughts and emotions, all of the baggage that had been accumulated throughout the course of that day. And there were times like if I didn't go and run, I would force myself to run because I knew I didn't want to take those emotions or thoughts to sleep. And I could, I would pray about them too. But there was a difference for me to be able to run and process those things. And I don't think at the time I understand the chemical response when I was a runner. Now, I probably pushed a little too much at times, but I could tell it was just a great way for me to process through my emotions and thoughts. And running is like that. I've heard that so often from people who are runners. And I also think that runners have this different mindset of wanting to achieve a higher threshold. And it's less about, obviously, less about muscle and some of those strength achievements. I do think that people use running as a way to really, like I said, process through thoughts and emotions and filter, and also to get away from the world. Put in your headphones and go for a run. That really allows you to disconnect and be in your own mind, but also confront those thoughts in your own mind. So that was something for me, and I use running to work through quite a few personal life challenges. And actually, I've lost a couple of really close runner friends that were in the community that got me started in distance running or hiking. And so it's also a way for me to honor those people when I go out. And a lot of times I'll think about the impact that they had on my life. So that's sometimes can be a good way to memorialize people as well. Another thing I had down here quickly to discuss was the timing of our exercise. And I used to run right before bed, and I recognize now that late night running was keeping me awake, even though it was allowing me to process thoughts and clear my mind. It was stimulating a response in my body and brain that was keeping me hyper alert and awake. So I've had people ask me, well, what about using running or yoga as a means of coping with stress? And I think both of those are great. And I think, though, it is important to be aware of the timing of our exercise and when we're placing what where. So now understanding that, it would probably be optimal for most people to do a run either in the morning or midday or at the latest prior to dinner, 5, 6 o'clock. And I know that some of you are very adamant runners and you push, you will run at 10:30 at night if it's the last thing you do to make sure you get that run in. And, I think to each his own, but understanding that the later we run, probably the more it's going to interfere with our sleep. And I think that the running during the day can be helpful to also break up the day and help to deal with some of the midday stressors. For me, that's a huge part of it. I need to get those endorphins going. And it's not necessarily running right now, it's those HIIT workouts. And I'll discuss that in a moment. Whereas yoga is a great practice in the evening. So a restorative yoga practice is awesome for mental health and calming down and preparing for bedtime and getting the mind, the brain into that parasympathetic state where it's winding down calmly and getting to a place of rest. Okay, so the timing of the exercise, I really do think is important, and for me personally, I'll talk about a couple of stories. So I have found that I don't always like to do exercise right when I get up. Right now, I like to kind of start my day slow, get up, make my coffee, do some reading, read some scripture, do some journaling, then check emails and respond to some phone calls. So once I've slowly started and got, I feel in control of my morning. Then that midday, once I've dealt with some of those calls and emails and I've got something to process, I like to break it up with that workout. So for today, for instance, I did my HIIT workout, around 11, 12, maybe 1 o'clock. On average, I'll do those. And I can actually tell. Now I'm getting, and that's a beautiful thing. Once you get to that point of self-awareness where you can read your body's signals for certain needs, I can tell when I'm getting agitated or irritable with sitting at a desk and addressing emails or dealing with things that maybe I don't particularly want to. Today was numbers, on the phone with the CPA a lot and just crunching numbers. And that's not one of my favorite things to do. I mean, I'm a journalist by my undergrad, and now as a health professional, I deal in words and helping people, not in numbers. So for me, I was like, okay, at a certain point, I'd had enough of the numbers. It was time to break away and process and address my body's need for movement and to be active. And so that's what happens with those HIIT workouts. And so I get those endorphins going through the challenge of the workout, and then ultimately through the completion of the workout, I get that dopamine, that sense of accomplishment. And we'll explore these topics in greater detail in a future discussion. But for me, for instance, today, the value of completing a workout, and just to show you the role of exercise in mental health. So I could tell this morning as I'm on the phone with the CPA and I'm looking at all these numbers and I'm trying to make decisions about finances, and it's a lot to process. And I'm like, okay, there's too many decisions. I'm starting to get anxious. I don't even know right now my mind's not clear enough to process it. And I knew in that moment, while this stuff needs to be addressed, I'm not going to be able to handle it, give it the attention it needs and handle it appropriately unless I take a break for an hour or so, knock out my workout, and then come back to it. Because I knew how that workout would shift my state of mind. And actually, I kind of like the fact that I'm doing the HIIT workouts at home now because it takes a lot less time. I don't have to get dressed and go to the gym, drive to the gym, do the workout, and drive back. I've got my setup here, quickly get into my workout clothes, knock the workout, jump online, knock it out, the live workout, boom, I'm done. So today I deliberately stopped to do the workout, and I knew the impact it would have. Well, as I'm going along, the live feed kept stopping on me. And I'm doing a HIIT workout, so the whole point is, you're trying to keep the heart rate up, you're trying to stay active, keep the sweat going, and you're trying to tax those muscles. And so you don't want too much of a break. Multiple times I had interferences where the live feed quit working. I had to modify a couple times. My equipment wasn't properly working for me. And so just a lot of interruptions, a lot of inconvenience and barriers. And ultimately, there was multiple times where I'm just like, okay, this is so frustrating. I could just quit. Because that was my thoughts were also playing against me too. I was kind of in my head as I'm starting my workout. I'm thinking about all these things, these decisions I have to make related to finances and the current pandemic situation. Just a lot of business decisions. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with this and this and this? And I couldn't pull my head into the workout. And as soon as I would get there, the workout would stop, and then I would have to troubleshoot and ultimately get a different device. So anyways, there were all these disruptions, and that was making it so easy for me to stop, to just quit working out. And I knew that if I quit working out, if I walked away from that was it. My day was done. It was gonna be disaster, and because I was not gonna be able to live with a workout cut short. And so I had to exercise patience and basically say it's not going the way I wanted it to. I don't want these interruptions in my workout, but how can I continue to push through? And I told myself basically this is not going to be a flawless workout. It's not going to be the best. This is not ideal, but I am going to finish the workout. Modifications or not, disruptions or not, it's going to happen. And so, because again, I knew that physically it'd be fine. Minimal setbacks if I stop halfway through, still get a little benefit, not quite, but it's 20 minutes, whatever, cut short. Emotionally, I was going to suffer more than I was physically if I stopped that workout early. That was going to, really disrupt the rest of my day. And so I basically committed I was going to finish it, and I did, right? And I knew, and then once I felt that sense of accomplishment, but the whole point was there's so many disruptions, there's so many points at which I could have walked away and sabotaged myself, sabotaged the progress, and also just destroyed my confidence for the day, and just been like, oh, first of all, you're already dealing with all this other stress, these other stressors, and then you couldn't even complete this workout. Like what? And then I would have been in my head all day about how weak I was, and so just being able to push past those inconveniences and those thresholds to finish the workout. Like I'm not gonna walk away saying it was the best workout ever, but I completed it, and that gave me another notch in the book of feeling good about what I could do, my ability to persevere, be resourceful and resilient to do what I needed to do to get the workout done, and I got that dopamine hit from completing it. So there were endorphins there, and for me, while the workout has its physical complications, like I was straining in some of the workouts, but I think as much as anything, it took those endorphins to push past those mental barriers. And so what I'm getting at here is like it was so much more than physical, because physically I was capable of completing the workout, but it was all of these emotional barriers. And I think that happens so often that honestly those are the things that keep us from working out in the first place, let alone keep us from finishing it, because usually once we get started we can complete a workout. We've gotten that far. But there is this whole series of process that takes place during that time that is physiological and chemical and directly impacts our mental and emotional health. And I want to hear from you guys too. Feedback, what is your experience with exercise, using exercise to deal with grief or different negative emotions, to process our busy minds? How has it helped you? How does it serve you in your daily life? And another thing is choosing the right form of exercise, and being able to really listen to our bodies when it comes to that. And for me, that's been something that's taken a lot of time and experience, because there was a time when I just would force different types of rigid exercise, or I would say like I'm going to work out at any cost, when maybe that day my body needed rest. Maybe it needed yoga instead, because I needed to just sort of calm my mind down and get a good stretch. But I would sometimes push myself, and I think we have to be careful with that too, is sometimes we work out so aggressively in an effort to prove something to ourselves, or maybe prove something to someone else, and then we end up getting injured. So we kind of need to check the motives of our workouts too, and just understand that if we make exercise and movement too rigid and are too routine, then it can get boring, or we can get burnout. That's one of the cool things I love about now, that I can enjoy fitness because I don't feel obligated to do one exact thing. I have a good variety going, and I backed up and made the commitment to myself that every day I'm going to do things that serve my body, that I'm going to find ways to move, and it might not be the same thing every day, and it might not be what was planned the night before when I get to that following day. I may discover that my body needs something different than my mind thought it was going to need the night before. And it's important to honor the body, not the ego that says you need to do this workout so you can post about it on social to get some likes, to feel better about yourself, to also do this work. Even though you need to do this type of workout, you should do this one because it's going to help your physique. That's going to boost your confidence. Like, we need to consider all those factors as well. Making sure that exercise isn't taking that kind of control over our minds to where it becomes an ego thing, because that's possible as well. But another thing I had down here is free play and exercise, and I think that's part of it. Is just like we had a discussion about the importance of free play in our lives and keeping variety and creativity and room for expression and making modifications and changes in a routine. That is the same with exercise. Like, being willing to switch it up and just say, I'm going to try something new. I like this today during the live workout, that it was pretty laid back. It was, this is the recommended template for the workout, but if you don't have this equipment, here's the modification. Or if you're not able to quite execute on this move, then do this instead. It wasn't really rigid. And I think I loved that, because I was like, okay, so what you're saying is we're here to improve upon our health however we can. And if it's not exactly through this plan, we're going to get there one way or the other. There's a different route for everybody, and I love that. So allowing space for free play and creative expression through exercise not just saying that these are the only ways to do it, right? These are the only ways to be active, but really opening new doors for opportunity for yourself, exploring new ways to be, to continue to move your body. So I think that that's critical as well. All this plays a role in how much we will incorporate and continue to include exercise in our lives and movement. I try to be careful to stay away from the term exercise and just scale back to movement. Some people don't have the means to do rigorous exercise, and I understand that. But just moving our bodies, just staying flexible, just proving that we can push past a threshold when it comes to doing a stretch or challenging our mobility can do wonders for our mental and emotional health, because it shows us what we're capable of and what our bodies can accomplish. And I think yoga is a great way to do that. You want to do deep stretches in yoga, starting off, I'm so unflexible and I can't execute the move at all. And then through deep breath work, all of a sudden I've made all this progress, even in one practice, even in less than an hour. And while that's physical progress in the body, mentally and emotionally, I can feel so amazing about that, because I realized that it took more than physical strength to accomplish that. It took me to be aware and connected and concentrating on breathing. It took me to be able to believe that I could accomplish that move. That's the same thing in the gym. Like, how often do we talk ourselves out of the fact that we're capable of doing something? I'll be honest, like recently when these HIIT workouts through F45 get difficult towards the end, I use a lot of self-talk. Like, I'll tell myself, like, great job, you're doing awesome, you're doing amazing, like, keep it up, you can do it, you can finish this. Like little bits of self-talk that I really hadn't used a lot in the past. Running, I would sort of grit it out in a different way. Lifting to me was just not my thing so much, because I would get bored, and then I didn't ever feel like I exerted at the level I wanted to. So the HIIT workouts are a great combination for me. So they do challenge me towards the end, and I'll have to tell myself, like, talk myself through it and give myself some personal motivation to push through there. And I know I could just as easily tear myself down and compromise my mental and emotional health. So there's, exercise can play dual roles in that. And I think we have to be careful about what we're allowing, what role we're allowing it to play. But it can be so incredibly helpful for our mental and emotional health. So let's explore this topic more in the coming week or so. I want to get into the depth and the meat of these books and be able to talk to you guys about the chemical and hormonal responses. I say the words endorphins and dopamine a lot, and essentially, when we exercise, when we go for a long run, and you've hit that wall, and you're getting into that part where your knees and ankles are burning, and you're down to the last few miles or mile or so, or you're in the home stretch of a workout or lift or HIIT workout, and you're physically fighting the pain, and maybe it is emotional too. That's when those endorphins kick in. That ability to work through the pain, because when we get to that pain, a lot of times our minds will tell us, oh, you can't do this. Like, you've reached your threshold and you can't lift anymore, you can't run any longer, the pain has surfaced and it's time to stop. And so then the endorphins kick in and remind us that you've got another level in, and like you can take it up a notch and you can reach a new level. And so that's when we're able to push through the pain using those endorphins. And once we get through it, we push and cross that next threshold. That's when we get that hit of dopamine. And once you finish that race or you complete that workout and you just drenched in sweat, and the best feeling is like you just fall over in exhaustion and you're just covered in sweat. You're also kind of drowning in dopamine, because you've got this overload of emotion and this sense of accomplishment. And I won't get into the depth of it today, but like even the level of creativity and innovativeness that comes after that. Like, there's research saying, like, after you complete an intense workout or run and you go on to the rest of your day, the productivity that you bring to the table, or the different ideas and enthusiasm, like, there's all these positive emotions that are emitted by that weren't there before. They were there, they were just lying dormant. But exercise, and specifically the accomplishment or achievement of a workout, will free those things up, because it gives you clarity of mind and it will give you the confidence to share those ideas as well. So just so many great things happening in response to when we work out. And I hope you guys are having the same experiences. Again, if you guys want to share your stories, please, I want to hear about how movement and exercise has played an impactful role in your mental and emotional health. So shoot me a message. If you have questions, please ask. I'm going to throw up some more material on my Facebook page at Foreside Wellness. So follow along on there as well. I'll follow up on these books as well, and we're going to discuss this some more length as well, because I just had a small group discussion with some church members, and we were talking about getting together to practice social distancing, like hiking and walking and different forms of exercise. And so everybody's experiencing this. Like right now, there are so many things that we don't have control over, but we can continue to move our body, we can stay active, and in turn, that is going to pay dividends for our mental and emotional health. So let's continue to remember that. Let's be grateful for what we still have available to us, and for so many, that is their physical health, and that is at least some level of mobility, and we want to be careful not to compromise or lose that as well. So please stay active, my friends. Continue to find ways to move your body, and in turn, you will experience the benefits for your mental and emotional health as well. I appreciate you guys joining me, as always, with our discussions. Again, shoot me a message. Be sure to follow up, check out the videos on the YouTube channel, and connect with me on Facebook at Foreside Wellness, or on Instagram at Derek Foreside. Appreciate you guys watching.